If you had told me 2 seasons ago that Billy, that douchebag, that bully character that just you don't really care about, you told me that I not only would care about him, I'd also care about his stepsister's reaction to him dying. If you told me I'd cared about any of that, I wouldn't have believed you. But maybe I should have. I mean, after all, stranger things have happened. No, I'm sorry. I can't. That has got to be the dumbest joke I've ever told. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 3, The Monster and the Superhero. This one was really good. I honestly don't have a whole lot to talk about as far as weaknesses. The only thing that I felt was frustrating, but it was still done well. It still makes sense. It was just frustrating from I'm more so frustrated for the characters, I suppose, is everything to do with Elle at the moment. Because the thing is, I do think it would be very easy for her to just explain what all happened at the roller rink, explain what these kids did to her, and that she lashed out in anger. And I feel like it would make her look a lot less crazy to these cops. However, we know that Elle is not exactly the most socially adapted person, so it does make sense that she wouldn't know about defending herself. She wouldn't know how to, even just whenever they ask her, did you want to kill her? Even if she did feel like it would be very easy to just go, no, of course not. I was just angry in that moment and I lashed out. But like I said, it makes sense for her not to be able to articulate that very well. So it's frustrating, but it makes sense within the confines of the story, if that at all makes sense to you. But everything else is just really good. I'm excited. I'm intrigued. I want to know more about some of this story. When they introduced this idea of Victor Creel in the last one, I'm thinking, all right, is this somehow going to be a guy who maybe got transported to the Upside Down and maybe he's become Vecna or something like that? But no, it seems like he was a victim of Vecna's attacks way back when. And of course, he couldn't just say, yeah, this demon came in and killed my family. So he just took the plea deal, so that way probably staved off the death penalty, if I had to guess. But finding that out is very interesting. They're also trying to piece together how Vecna is connected to the Mind Flayer from last season, which is also very interesting. Owen's showing up and saving Elle and offering her a chance to get her powers back is also really intriguing. It's funny, I did expect to hate Lucas in this episode, because they did show that he was very put off by what I want to say his name is Jason. It's not sticking still. The head of the basketball team still not really sticking with me, but I think that's his name. But they were showing how he was put off by what he and the other two guys were doing. And so at that moment, whenever he hears from Dustin where Eddie's staying and he says, yeah, I have a clue, I'm thinking, all right, please tell me he's leading them somewhere else. And then all of a sudden they're in the woods and it looks like they are going to the boathouse, but then you find out that it's the cabin. I'm like, well done, Lucas. That it really saved his character in this episode to have him make that decision. And even his decision to just run away and leave them there. I thought it was a very clever choice for him. So I'm sure he's going to be in danger now because they're going to be wanting to kill him too. But it was just nice to see them not make a stupid decision with him and not have him in the moment get all jealous that they're off doing stuff without him still. Something else that I'm kind of waiting to see where it's going to go is seeing Nancy and Robin working together. I don't know if the tension is because Nancy thinks Robin and Steve are an item, because even when Robin tells her that that's not the case, she still was acting a little weird. So I don't really know what's going on there. Because I will say, as far as the whole dating thing with Nancy and Jonathan and Nancy and Steve, right now for Jonathan, like I said before, he's not really got much going in this story outside of the fact that he and Nancy are having trouble at the moment because they're about to go to different colleges. He's not telling her this. But other than that, I mean, he's just basically getting high with Argyle all the time. And that's his whole thing at the moment. Now, it does feel like maybe he will start to get a little bit more involved with the story because obviously now that Elle's being taken by Dr. Owens, there's going to be a little bit more, I think, for him and Mike and Will to do. There's a lot of different possible routes this story can take between Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve. I just don't know which one. And honestly, I'm kind of at a point where I don't feel like I care as much about their story. I said at the end of last season, I kind of do hope that Nancy and Steve get back together because Steve has just shown himself to be a really good guy. And yet he keeps getting the wrong end of the stick as far as relationships are concerned. But honestly, I am just kind of at a point where it feels like, all right, we're just kind of not really doing much with these three. So I'll just make a decision. Either Nancy and Jonathan are going to be a couple. We're just going to move forward. or you're going to put Nancy and Steve back together and they'll be a couple again. I don't really care. Just if you're going to do something, do something. It feels like we're wasting time with this story, to be honest. But we also do see Max getting affected by Vecna in this one, and I talked about in the last episode, there were the little hints that this was going to happen, that she was going to become a target because she's dealing with trauma just like Fred and Chrissy were. So it's really interesting that it's happening now. I kind of expected it would be maybe episode 5 or 6 she would be put in danger. So the fact that it's already happening in episode 3, it does raise the stakes a lot quicker than I was expecting. But of course, she knows what this is, whereas Chrissy and Fred don't have any idea. So maybe she'll be able to fight back in a way that they weren't able to. But yeah, at the moment, obviously, we've not seen any sort of way to fight back against Vecna since he does attack internally. So like I said, the stakes and the tension are already really high in this case because it doesn't feel like it's going to be as simple as what we saw with like the Mind Flayer last season where, oh no, he's got me. It's fine. We'll just take a torch to him or we'll just chop off the vine or the tentacle that he's got going at you. Outside of that, the only other thing is Joyce and Murray going to get Hopper out of prison. And I think we're already starting to see more of what I wanted from season 3. Where Joyce, she's not acting over the top, goofy, anything like that. She's a lot more down to earth, which makes those scenes between her and Murray funnier. Because he is eccentric, he is over the top. So you have to balance that out by having more serious characters act alongside him. And so Joyce, right now, is one of those characters. And I feel like Hopper definitely seems a lot more grounded. Everything he's going through in the Russian prison is being taken very seriously, very painful. I mean, him breaking his ankle just to be able to slip out of the cuffs. Ugh, I was cringing through that entire scene. But I do hope that that means that once they get Hopper back and it's the 3 of them, we will have a little bit more of what I wanted to see with that dynamic. I think a good example of that is when they're on the plane. A couple of lines from Murray are really goofy, and her reaction is very downplayed, just like, what am I doing here with this idiot? You know, at one point he's sleeping, he ends up like resting his head on her shoulder, and she just like pushes him away onto the window. So those scenes work a lot better because she's not also on the same level as him as far as goofiness. So like I said, I hope that continues. But all that being said, I think that's about it for this episode. I do feel like the tension's got me on the edge of my seat right now, so that's all I can really ask for at this point. With all that said, we'll get to the next episode. I'll see you there in a sec. And now episode 4, Dear Billy. I needed a minute after that episode because that was a lot. That was a lot to take in there. So first of all, we'll talk about probably the weakest part of this for me, and that is, fortunately, we're back to Hopper and Joyce being the weak stuff. And it's not necessarily bad, it's just I kind of was thinking we were going to be done with this storyline of Hopper being in Russia. And so the fact that we're still not done with it, it kind of makes me worried that this is going to be their whole story for this season. It's just trying to get Hopper back. And I was really excited to see them get back to the kids and try to help out again. So unfortunately, while it's not unrealistic, because I mean, Yuri does seem like the type of guy that would betray everybody for more money, it's just frustrating that, okay, so we're not done here yet. I really wanted to get them back involved with the main story. I will also say they made Yuri so outlandish that it was kind of weird because I kind of expected him and Murray to get along, since Murray is also very eccentric and out there. But they actually made Murray more of a straight man in this routine, which I thought was weird. But I think they just made him over the top so we were going to be less suspicious of him. So whenever he does turn on everybody, it comes as a bit more of a shock. But the way that Enzo or Antonov or whatever his name is, the way he described him, I'm not too surprised that he would be willing to turn everybody in for money. But again, I was just hoping they weren't going to do that because I wanted to move on. I will also say the stuff with Jonathan, Mike, and Will, it's not bad. It's just sort of weird. Owens and his group are helping them, keeping them protected. And then just all of a sudden they start getting attacked by what looks like soldiers. Does the US government know what Owens is doing and is basically trying to hunt him down? It just feels weird that they would show up guns a-blazing, because I wouldn't think that they would be trying to attack Owens and his group. They'd probably want to try to capture him. So the fact that they just came in and, gunshots right away, it feels like a bit of a leap. So I almost wonder if maybe the original group from like season 1, if maybe they have their hands in something, and so they're more willing to use force than just the normal US Army. Yeah, it was a very sudden shift of, yeah, we're going to try to sneak out of here and go back to Hawkins, and then all of a sudden just gunfight ensues. It caught me off guard, and it just didn't feel like the buildup was there for it. So I don't know. We'll see what they're going to do with that. We'll see who was shooting at them and everything, but it did feel a little out of place compared to everything else. Yeah, let's talk about the main focus for this episode. I mean, Dear Billy, that kind of says it all because Max is the main focus, and it's a perfect payoff. I talked about at the end of last season how Billy's death, him dying in the process of saving Elle from the Mind Flayer, it was a very good wrap up for his character, but this is a great payoff for Max's character. Because I even said last season, there were a couple times where she was looking upset or regretful that Billy might be taken over. I just remember thinking at the time, but they weren't really that close last season, so where is this coming from? And by the end of it, I did feel the emotion was there, but I still didn't really get the sense that they cared about each other that much to where she would be broken up about it. But her letter to him is just perfect. It's more so the idea of what could have been. And I think that's also what got me. I didn't realize it at the time when I was doing the review, but it's more so the fact that, yeah, Billy died before he had a chance to turn it around. He did get that one last moment to do something good, to save Elle from the creature, to give them enough time to close the gate and kill it. So it's like he had that one final moment to do something good, but all that potential for him to maybe turn his life around, to maybe become a better person, all of that is gone because he died in the process. And so for Max, that thought, that possibility is there in her mind of what could have happened. And the fact that she didn't do anything in that moment, the fact that she just stood there, it's something that she deeply regrets. And I do think that's something with all of these trauma victims that Vecna is taking. I think that's something we're starting to see with them, is this feeling of regret. It's not just something traumatic happened and they still feel the pain of it. I think there's regret from something they could have done that they didn't do. For Max, it's the fact that she didn't go step in and try to maybe save Billy from the monster. For Fred, we saw he didn't step in and save these people from this car crash. He just left. We didn't really see much with Chrissy. Again, there's still some mystery there, and I kind of hope we explore that a bit more. But with Victor, we saw he had this regret of blowing up this house and realizing that it wasn't just soldiers in there. You know, this baby was in there that died. There's regret there for all of them. And I think that it feels like what Vecna maybe preys on. It's what he uses to keep them trapped. So that whole emotion, her reading the letter to her, basically overcoming Vecna, you know, remembering all these scenes, remembering she still has something to live for. Because I think that's something else is Vecna traps these people and makes them feel like it's hopeless. Like they don't deserve to live. So her realizing all this stuff that she still can live for, it was just such a well done scene, and it got me. Like the emotion was just there. And I'm still feeling it just thinking back to the scene. It's so well done. And it's funny because I do know that song. I don't remember the name of it now, but you know, Running Up the Hill. I know that was a very popular song around the time season 4 came out, so I knew it was going to play in somehow. And I heard her listening to it in the first episode, I think. So I'm just like, okay, well, I know that song is going to be important because it blew up in popularity when this season came out. So the way they utilized it here was just, it's so damn good. It's so good. So by far, just the best episode of this season, and might be my favorite episode from the whole show, if I'm being honest. Because there were some moments that did get me a little choked up in like season 1 when they saved Will, or Max's reaction to Billy's death last season. But this was just so well done that I just felt all the emotion while I was watching it. And for a show to get me like that, I mean, you have to do a good job with the writing, and they did for this one. Yeah, we had several good moments before that with the group surrounding Max. Obviously, we know Jason and his posse are still out there looking for Eddie, so that's still a danger. I will say something that was pretty interesting, because when I heard Victor's voice, I'm like, why does this guy sound kind of familiar? And I started going through his IMDb. He's been in several shows that I've seen. Didn't realize he was Freddy Krueger. That was kind of a fun little tie-in, since Vecna does use, not dreams, but he does use these visions, these nightmares basically, to attack you. So I feel like that had to be intentional. They're like, well, we need somebody to play this guy who was a victim a long time ago, an older guy. Let's go get the guy that played Freddy Krueger. It kind of feels like Vecna is a Freddy Krueger type of villain, so I think it works. But that whole scene at the asylum with Robin and Nancy, I thought was really well handled too. There's still a bit of friction between the two of them. I do hope we kind of push past that soon, because I feel like the moments whenever they're working together, you see Robin standing up and saying what needs to be said to convince this doctor to let them go see Victor. And then Nancy at the end decides, no, we're just going to make a run for it. Like there are some moments where I think both of them respect the other for how well they handle the situation. But I think that friendship is still not quite blossomed yet. So I would like to see that happen, or that grow a little bit more. I think that's about it for this episode, though. Like I said, it worked. It worked so well. I really hope the rest of the season just keeps this momentum because right now I'm just fully on board. The show has gripped me and I want to see more. And if they can keep this level through the rest of the season, I have no doubt in my mind that I will agree with a lot of people in that season 4 is the best one, at least so far. I know season 5 is only halfway done at this point. But with all that being said, those are all my thoughts. So cue the outro. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that review. I hope you enjoyed it. First and foremost, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I love having discussions with people, so whatever your thoughts were, whether you agree or disagree with me, please leave them down below. Obviously, no spoilers. Also, if you did find yourself enjoying this review and you want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I also have a gaming channel as well as a channel where I talk about soccer, so if you want to give those a follow as well, that would be much appreciated. And lastly, if you want to help me improve upon the quality of these channels, I do have a Patreon. All of this is in the description below. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.